Good morning. As I was meditating here this morning in preparation for the video, if not my day, a thought came through my head, and I found myself thinking about my office space and how it's kind of dark and cramped, feeling small. And how I wished I could change that, how I wished I could renovate or something, or somehow get myself an office space that was more expansive and brighter with more light. And okay, so I realize that I'm thinking this as I'm meditating, and what comes through to me next is, what is it in myself that needs to be more expansive and more light? You know, we all want to change our external circumstances to match our desires more closely. What makes us happy, what makes us comfortable, what makes life pleasant. And yet, it's such a great opportunity when something comes in that doesn't match up. You know, those challenges and those times where life doesn't go the way we wish it would. To look in ourselves and say, where is that happening in me? What is that in me that I can change? In a way, it's easier to change our internal circumstances than our outer circumstances, but we kind of think it's easier to change the outer circumstances. Well, or maybe it's more that we prefer to change our outer circumstances. We don't like to change ourselves. We want to stay the same. My lips are dry this morning. We don't want to change too much. And where is that most prevalent? I think it's in our bodies and ourselves and our self-image. Because that's the second thing that came when I was thinking about this morning and meditating on this morning, was I got a new bridge yesterday. So it's kind of like having 3 new front teeth that I've had temporary for quite a long time. And now I have 3 new front teeth, and they're different than my original teeth. They feel there's a little bit of an overbite thing going on, and they look funny, and and I feel this tension around that I have this self-image of how I'm supposed to look and how my teeth are supposed to be, how my smile should be, and how I should sound. I never realized until I started getting all this dental work how much our teeth shape the sound of our voice. Consonants, S's in particular. So I applied that in the same way. What is it that needs to change in me to adapt to circumstances, instead of fighting circumstances which are pretty much irrevocable, and just being at war with reality, essentially. So realize how many ways there are in your life that you do that. I think it's easier to see it in other people when they're resisting reality, for instance, or when they are complaining about something or someone outside of themselves, and you can see that it's because they have that exact problem in themselves that's just mirrored by the outside world. And of course, all of our life is just the mirror of what we're experiencing, what's going on for us on deeper levels. So when we do change ourselves, we suddenly find that things outside of us change. And sometimes things that we could not change, even if we wanted to, suddenly shift. And that's very clear with people, where people are involved. When we shift ourselves, everyone around us suddenly starts to change. Those things that we thought we could never fix, like in our parents, say, or our children or our spouse, that used to drive us absolutely crazy and was just intolerable, we couldn't accept it. When we change ourselves, they change. I've seen this over and over again with myself and with others, and so that's the motivation. In case you're wondering, well, what's the motivation for me to do this work? What's the motivation for me to change? I don't want to change. I am me. And that's our biggest stumbling block. We identify with these things. The ego identifies with these things. And then if the things change, the ego is threatened because it's no longer who it said it was. And if that's the case, then who is it? Who am I? That's what the ego says. I see this in my healing work and my magic work a lot with people, or doing readings, or however I'm interacting with people. They will say, their ego, excuse me, their ego will claim the problem that they don't want. And then it becomes identified with that problem, and then it can't shift. Or at least it's a lot more difficult and sometimes just temporary. For instance, people will want to heal an issue, but they'll claim it and say, my disease, my injury, my inability. And as soon as you claim that with a my, you know that the ego is identifying with that and making it part of its consciousness, part of its identity, part of its selfness, selfhood. It becomes a lot easier to change things when we are loose with them and say, the issue that is going on in my body, or the illness, the tinnitus in my ears, the whatever. I think you know what I'm saying. So it's just that same issue, right? It's that same issue of how the ego wants to latch on to everything around and everything on the outside and identify with it and claim it as a way of bolstering its own identity and existence. And the more we can let go of that, the lighter everything becomes. And that, I think, is one of the ways that, I just noticed that I've circled back, and I think that's one of the ways that I need to lighten up and be more expansive, is to not be so identified with my appearance, for instance, or the way that I sound, and whether that fits how I used to be. We keep changing, we keep growing, we keep evolving, and we can get into a lot of resistance about that. But life just becomes so much easier without resistance. Oh my God. Imagine what it would be like to go through life with less resistance. when I went to the dentist yesterday, it was, I don't know if you saw the video when I talked about dental phobia, but I have had massive dental trauma and panic my entire life. And I recently went to a hypnotherapist to clear that. And I also did some group manifestation work, and I also did a lot of EFT tapping on various parts of it that the hypnotherapy didn't get to that day. And it erased the tension around that. Yesterday, when I went to the dentist, I just drove myself to the dentist and walked in and, went into the room and had the thing done and came out, and it was nothing. It was like I was going in and buying I don't know, groceries or something, getting keys cut. It was so not an issue, not a trauma, not a resistance practice. And my whole day was just so much lighter, so much more pleasant, so much less exhausting. My days leading up to it were so much more pleasant and more effective, and that's the joy of living with less resistance. And that's just an example that came to me, but understand how your life can change completely just by letting go of resistance and shifting what's inside. When there's something outside of yourself or someone outside of yourself that you want to change or that you wish could be different, look at how that is in you, where that is in you, and then start to create some space around that to open up and be different than maybe you wish you were. When we allow for that, for things not to be how our ego or our mind say they should be, we open up the possibility for life to transform miraculously around us, inside and out. Health and external circumstances and relationships and everything. So, all right. What will our practice be today? Well, I think I've already said what mine is, so I can share that with you. See if you can't identify those moments in your day where you're wishing your outside environment would be different. And then look at how that might be a metaphor or a reflection of what it is inside yourself that could change, that needs a little bit of evolution, a little bit maybe just of less resistance and more acceptance and flow, stepping into the flow of what is stepping into the flow of grace and allowing grace to flow through your life, transforming and uplifting everything. That sounds worth it, doesn't it? It's a much nicer way to be. It makes life just so much more pleasant and wonderful and effortless. All right, so that's our assignment for today, should you wish to accept it. And feel free to adapt it or create your own, whatever you'd like to do. And please take a moment to just let me know in the comments section below what you thought of these ideas today, and how they resonated for you and how you put them into practice. Thanks, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.